I started writing the Gospel of John. By now I have completed the Gospel of John. I have completed the 3 letters of John, and now I am writing the book of Revelation. And I decided to do it in the original language because the New Testament was written in Greek. And so what I did was to pull out the actual text and my iPad, and then I start copying the actual text in the original language, so that when people get to see this is what the original Gospels would have looked like. And so it's a nice way of doing something ever ancient, but doing it now. In the past, I would have written small passages and then frame them and give them as gifts to people, but never did a complete gospel.
When you started telling people that you were doing this, what was their reaction?
They thought I was crazy. 10 years ago, I was doing my biblical studies, and I was always fascinated by my teachers that brought replicas of ancient manuscripts. And so I thought, one day I'm going to have those copies too. And so when I came back from my biblical studies, I started to collect. And so I started to collect copies of biblical manuscripts, and that's what I have here in the house. I call it the Bible Museum, which is 4,000 years of biblical history in one room, my living room. So, and it goes traveling. I take the manuscripts and I bring them to places. I've done that a lot for the Diocese of Saginaw, which I serve. And so I use the display to educate about the long process that the Bible took to be compiled, to be composed, in order to be in our hands nowadays, whether it is in a printed form or in a digital form. In order to get there, it had to go through a super long process. And that's what I love, the process. But this is something that I do at night when all the meetings are over and I have an hour. I just sit down, and for as long as my eyes allow me to write, I do, maybe 10 verses at a time, and then I get tired and I just let it go. I would recommend people highly to do it, to pick a book, their favorite book, and copy it by hand, because God speaks to us not just through our eyes, but through our hands. And so as you are writing it, you are entering into the feelings of the actual authors. You are entering into the feelings of the actual scribes that made the copies. It's a very spiritual process, enlightening, at times frightening, but it's very joyful, because this is not any word, this is the word of God. I have a parishioner who is very interested in this project and gave to me as gifts these scrolls. These are just regular scrolls that people find on Amazon, and said, what about if you start writing a scroll of the Old Testament? And so I did. I chose Isaiah, and I started to write prophet passages from prophet Isaiah in the original Hebrew. Hebrew is written from right to left. I learned the languages when I did my biblical studies, but I'm by no means an expert in them. I have to use dictionaries and translations and all of that, but I find it fascinating. So I'm hoping to write the book of Isaiah in 3 different scrolls, selected passages, and we'll see where the Lord leads me with that. To me, the greatest joy is that when people see the work that I've done, if this helps them to love their Bible more, I'm the happiest being on earth. Because when they see the process, that it takes time, the things that are important take time. And when they appreciate that, perhaps they will go back home, pick up their Bible, and really dive into it and be taught by God from their Bibles, after appreciating the fact that there was a long process to get there.